So in this video, my camera work is not as good as I was hoping it would be. I did not have the right stuff to video this horse on this day, but I really wanted to get footage of it because I kind of want to do a series of this guy so you can see how the hooves have improved over time. So I wanted to make sure I got the footage, but it's not from the best angle. I didn't have the right tripod. So anyway, right now I am taking off a EasyCare Versa Octos shoe, and this horse has done really well in them. He has had some laminitis, and he really needs protection for his comfort and improved recovery. And so far so good, but the hooves do not look super at this moment in time. Now I'm taking off the other front shoe. I'm just using my nippers to kind of work those tabs off to try to break the bond without cutting the tab off. And then I'll just kind of pull the shoe off on the other side. And that's a method that usually works really well for me. And these shoes do pretty well for this horse. I mean, he even likes to go in the pond. He's a bit of a water buffalo. He loves going in the water. So even being in the water and all that moisture and everything, these shoes stay on pretty well for him. Off on the right hand side of the screen you can see my buddy Curly. He is a horse that I seem to have bonded with, and even when he's loose he likes to hang out with me while I'm working on the other horses in the barn. So he's kind of fun. He's a sweet old guy. Love that horse. So now that I've got all those tabs removed, or mostly removed, I'm going to break the bond a little bit more. That shoe should come right off. I'm going to get to trimming the bottom part of this guy's hoof. You can kind of see he really, his hoof wall is overgrown. That's another sign of a horse with laminitic issues or metabolic issues. They grow much faster than your average horse. So the first thing I'm doing is taking my nippers and removing some of that excess hoof wall. But he has a relatively flat sole. He doesn't have much depth at the apex of the frog. So I think he's had a little bit of rotation, maybe a tiny bit of sinking. His hooves are not in great shape. They're a lot better than they were. Whoops, knocked the camera over. Gotta set it back up. It's the hazard of using the GoPro on this tiny little tripod. It's a little too close to me while I'm trimming. But if I have any further away, I don't get good footage. So every once in a while, I knock the camera over. Whoopsies. So now I'm just gonna, I normally won't take a knife to a horse's sole that's had any type of laminitis. But if I find that there's any tissue that needs to be removed, like on the frog back there too, it's just kind of yucky. I'm going to try to remove some dead tissue without going too deep and taking too much. And I also have to kind of remove some sole pressure. I don't want to create excess sole pressure for this horse. So I take a few slivers with my knife and my rasp and kind of take off any high points that are on the sole right there. I really don't want to go too deep though. I've never seen x-rays on this guy. And, you know, one or two swipes too many could make him sore when I put that shoe on. So there's kind of a fine line, a nice little happy medium that I try to hit with him. And, you know, I also want to take those heels down and bring them back as far as I can without putting him in a negative angle. So really kind of a delicate trim with this guy to keep him comfortable and keep the hooves improving and moving in the right direction. And I apologize that this footage isn't a little bit better. I know there's a little bit of distortion, and at some angles the light isn't very good, so I hope you can still kind of see what I'm doing. You can see that this hoof has a lot of dishing and flaring, and the hoof wall is not very well connected, and that's why he has these cracks in the toes, because he has that hoof wall separation that then it gets invaded by fungus, and it creates a big crack where the fungus is eating up on the inside of the hoof wall. So I'm trying to open it a little bit, get some air into it, just try to improve it to the best of my ability, even though I'm fighting things in the environment and internally that I can't really beat or trim my way out of. I still want to give this horse the best trim you possibly can have. That opened up into a big void. You can see that none of that hoof wall is connected. It's just a bunch of black gunk in there. So I'm really trying to open it up as best as I can to remove any of that fungus that is present and open it up to air, because usually air is the best remedy to get rid of fungus like that. So like I said, not the greatest footage, so I hope you can kind of see what I'm doing. Just trying to open that up to the best of my ability before I move on with the trim and put a new set of shoes on. Now I'm working on that other front hoof, and very similar to the first front hoof, except that on this one, this guy at some point had an injury to the medial heel area, and he cut off about half his heel. And over time, it's kind of grown back, which I was super surprised about. But it's back. He has much more heel than he used to, so I'm going to go with it. But right now, just like the other front hoof, I'm trimming up that hoof wall, taking the excess material off. And I think this is at about 4 weeks, so that's a lot of growth for 4 weeks. Just going to smooth out that wall with my rasp. And I think just like the other side, I'm going to rasp the sole a little bit. I don't want to take off too much material there because I think the sole is really thin in that area. But I also want to get down to healthy tissue, and I also don't want to create too much sole pressure with the shoe in the area. So trying to remove some bits of his frog that I think are going to be problematic and trap dirt and debris and cause fungal infection. You really got to clean up hooves quite a bit more if you're going to put a shoe on top, because anything that you leave that's negative is going to be accentuated under that shoe. So you just have to be a little bit more thoughtful and careful when you're adding mechanics to a foot versus just trimming them where we're just changing mechanics or removing them. Be much more careful with addition and subtraction. So just trying to smooth out that foot, remove anything that I think is going to cause problems underneath that shoe, trying to straighten that bar, leave as much heel on that medial side as I can while straightening the bar. Same thing on this side. I want to get that heel back, and I want to kind of remove that hook, but I can only take the heel down so far before I'm going to cause new problems for this horse. And this guy, he's lovely. He stands wonderfully. He's a barrel horse. I guess he's pretty fast. Runs his heart out for his owner. Just a real sweet horse and a joy to work on. And he generally stands super still like a statue for me, unless he's really uncomfortable. But even then, when he's uncomfortable, he still stands pretty great for me. I'm going to see how flat that sole is. I'm going to investigate that crack. Kind of see how deep it goes, see if I want to resect that one too. Just kind of making sure I have a good idea of that I've got this hoof kind of collected and organized the way I want it before I put a new shoe on. Trim that up a little bit. I want to leave as much heel as I can, but sometimes I have to remove it. I'm going to finish trimming this hoof from the top, beveling it, maybe removing a little bit of dishing and flare. I don't want to thin the wall too much to compromise the integrity of that structure, but I also do want to remove some dishing and flaring. And some of this is the camera angle, guys. Like, the hoof is actually not this bad in person. I think I must have had like a flared angle or something going on with the camera, because it really doesn't look like this in person. That looks pretty terrible, especially that inside. Man, that looks like a big flare. But it's a bit distorted from the camera. Still not great, but yeah, there's some distortion present. I'm going to look at that crack a little bit too, because when I stuck my pick in there, it went up pretty deep. So I'm going to try to open it as much as I can with my loop knife, which I know is really hard to see from this angle. My tripod was definitely too short that I was using this day. I normally have a different one that I use that is puts the camera up quite a bit higher so you can see a little bit better when I'm doing work like this. So I apologize for that. Future videos will be filmed using the taller tripod, and will provide a much better viewing angle for you guys. Yeah, this one, it went up way higher than I expected. I'm trying to just keep digging out the wall until I stop seeing black without compromising the hoof too much. But sometimes the only way to get rid of a crack like this is to resect it, especially since I know this horse likes to go in the water a lot. I thought opening up that crack would be the best method at this point to helping it heal. rasp it smooth and then move on. One of the fun parts about applying glue on shoes is some of the hoof prep. It's pretty satisfying for me. This tool that I'm using is called a Buffy. Just attaches to a drill, and it's like a rotational sander. And I just love it because it takes all the dirt and the old glue off of the hoof wall and makes it really clean and really smooth, so that you have a really good gluing surface to apply the shoe to. You can see it's just that the hoof is like all one color now. Just pretty, and it looks nice, and just one of my favorite parts about prepping for glue on shoes. And I wouldn't normally do this on a healthy hoof because the horse needs the outer coating on the hoof wall, which is called the periopal. But we need to remove the periopal when gluing because it's kind of oily and glue will not adhere to the wall well when the periopal is still intact on it. Now I'm going to prep the other hoof. Every once in a while this guy gets a little tired of having his feet forward on the stand, but he really tolerates a lot from me and doesn't mind the noise. I think the Buffy actually feels good to some horses. I think they like the feel of the vibration. Kind of like a push massage, I guess. Yeah, right now I'm just trying to get all that old glue off and any periopal that might interfere with the shoe tabs attaching to the wall. Trying to get it all cleaned up and just nice and smooth. And this hoof is a different color, and you can kind of see it has some stripes on it. It's kind of fun to see what the Buffy reveals when you use it. But like I said about the other front hoof, I would not do this just for fun. This serves a very specific purpose. I just think it looks cool and nice and clean when I'm done. I trim this horse's hind feet. One of the issues we've had with his hinds is that his heels like to underrun and his toe likes to get long and kind of just migrate forward. And having him in shoes has helped because he's moving a lot better with the shoes on, which means he's not only moving better on the front hooves, he's moving better on the hind hooves as well. So since his movement has improved, the wear patterns on his hooves on the hind end have improved a lot as well. But we still have some improvements I'd like to see. So I'm going to take his heels down just enough to bring them back a little bit so they're not running forward. But my main focus is going to be on his toe. I'm going to try to bring his toe back as far as I feel like I can while still maintaining his comfort level. But also improving the quality of that hoof and standing it up a little bit better. Because right now he's at a little bit of a negative plantar angle, and I would like to move that in a more positive direction. So just smoothing out that bevel, and I'll finish this hoof from the top side. Now that I've got it forward, you can sort of see once I move the rasp out of the way that this horse, he gets a little bit of a lateral flare. Oh, I knocked the camera over again. I guess I'll get it repositioned and get back to trimming. So yeah, I'm going to address that flare a little bit. Kind of just smooth it out. But I don't want to take too much because I found when I thin his wall too much, it'll start to crack in that area in the quarters. And I really don't want that. I'm using my big loop knife, well the hook on my big loop knife, to pick that hoof out a little bit and then address the frog because the frog is going to kind of dictate where I can trim his heels to. I'm going to remove that bar because it's kind of laying over onto the sole and want to get any yucky frog removed before I start addressing other areas. Just kind of want to open it up a little bit, open up those collateral grooves. Like I'm going to use my nippers instead. Now I'm going to start addressing the hoof wall. I really want to bring that toe back on this hoof too. But at the same time, I got to make sure that heel kind of stops running forward. I don't want to take it down, but I want to bring it back. because he really doesn't have much depth in his digital cushion on the hind feet. So I don't really want to dump him on his heels too much, but I also don't want him to keep running forward. So I kind of picked like a happy medium there. And yeah, take that toe as much as I can. I'm going to do a vertical nip to bring it back a little bit further, because it's just sticking out there a little too far, a little uneven. Now I'm going to smooth that hoof with my rasp, kind of create my bevel a little bit more. Make sure that bevel continues through my quarters, and that it's not just a steep bevel in the toe. I need the whole hoof wall beveled, not just one area of it. Just going to make sure it's smooth, and then I'm going to put this hoof down and pull it forward and finish my bevel from the top side, because that looks pretty good. Just want to make sure that bar isn't laying over too much. I think that's about finished from the bottom. Now I'm just going to smooth my bevel, address any flares that I can find. On most quarter horses, and this horse is a quarter horse, those flares will be present on the lateral side of the hoof wall. They usually grow straight and grow down on the medial side and flare out on the lateral side. It's just a very common wear pattern for that breed of horse. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please leave me any comments down below.